Hello and thank you for watching my video. This is my top 5 Guild Wars 2 maps, so we're going to get straight into this. At number 5 we have Gendaran Fields. For those of you wondering why I decided to choose this map, I chose this for a number of reasons. Firstly, I think visually it's one of the more interesting maps, how it takes a lot of Krita and Krita sort of topography and mixes that with the Shiver Peaks towards the east of the map. I also think the Vigil is one of the more stunning features in a map, and it has a few events that I find really interesting. Not only that, it has an underwater section, it has a section with the centaurs, it even has the undead, it has the Shiver Peaks. It pretty much is a convergence of the entire map of Tyria. Although you do have Lion's Arch obviously being pretty much the center, to come into Lion's Arch, the majority of people will use Gendaran Fields. So, for example, the Norn will tend to come through, as will the Char. The humans obviously will come through from Krita, and the Silvari and the Azura will also come through via Kessex Hills. So for me, this is one of the more interesting places. You also have like the settlements, Nebo Terrace, Ascalon Settlement, both of which are really pretty villages and towns, and are very well designed in my point of view. It is very flat, it is pretty general, there isn't much verticality in this map, and I think comparing it to new maps it will sort of eventually go down a lot, but for me I still enjoy going around Gendaran Fields. I still think visually it is a interesting map. It's one of the maps that I enjoy. It has map sort of content related to Guild Wars 1 as well, regarding for example Nebo Terrace, which was a place in Guild Wars 1. So for me, this is why Gendaran Fields is the 5th best map. At number 4, we have a surprising entry, and that is the Fields of Ruin. And there are a number of reasons why I'm making the case, however I do feel that this vista pretty much sums up why. Just take a look down there. For me, it's this view really does hammer home why Ebonhawk, for me, is one of the more elegant and beautifully designed aspects in Guild Wars 2. I mean, just the fact that obviously as well as you go further in the distance, it becomes harder to see them. But this, it's you know, visually amazing. I really do love Ebonhawk. I think it's an amazing design, although it's pretty standard in the fact that it's sort of circular. I just think it's a beautiful place. It's very unusual how it's in the heart of Ascalon, and you've got this this big old fortress and town in the middle of or in the corner of the map. We also have obviously the ogres. There's a lot of ogre sort of encampments there, and then we have the brand. The brand is pretty interesting. You get the start of the brand, or part of the brand, in this map as well. However, I will admit that there are places in Fields of Ruin which are pretty bland and bereft of anything. This point here, there really is just an empty space, and you do get on occasion you just feel a little bit in the middle of nowhere. But just look at the visuals you can get from outside in this point here. Ebonhawk looms large, and for me, though it is a little bit just focused on one particular thing, I do think that the Ebonhawk does make a big difference. There are a few little outposts, and you've got the summit waypoint as well, between the Char and the humans. And I like this. This is like a medieval type meeting point between two major races. And you can see here with the flags, and the sort of emblems draping down. And you've got all the round tables and all this documentation going on. I really do like this. It really does feel like an actual world type map, stuff going on in the world. So for me, this is why Fields of Ruin is my number 4 map. At number 3, again, pretty interesting. It's I couldn't include something without including an ore map in this top 5, and I've gone for the Straits of Devastation over the Cursed Shore and Malkor's Leap, pretty much because it's the first part of Ore you experience. It takes the Maguma jungle and brings it into Ore. And not only that, you get the Fort Trinity. This is a place, obviously, which has a lot of connotations to do with the personal story. You spend a lot of time here, and I do enjoy it. You've got the sea, and this is probably the one map that has a bit more underwater content than any other. And I am a little bit of an underwater fan. I do like the underwater side of Guild Wars 2. But also, not only that, Straits of Devastation is your first introduction to the hard endgame content. You actually get your first experience of a temple in the Temple of Balthazar. But you can see here, it's on the edge of the Steamspur Mountains, and you get the entrance into Ore, and, you know, you've got this massive ocean, which, you know, you can have a lot of fun in there. You've got a few other little areas, as we have a look around, but generally, it's not a bad map for your introduction into the Undead and the Risen. Obviously, the Cathedral of the Glorious Victory is one of the more challenging group events out there. It does require a lot of coordination, and it has a few other major events. You've got a beautiful vista in the Lightfoot Passage, which is really, really beautiful and scenic in there. You've got the Catacombs, where you've got the Eye of Zaitem will come through. And generally, this map does give you a really good introduction to Ore the Undead, and I think it's really well designed, this entire map. It is a challenging one. I don't think it's as well occupied as some of the other maps, and that does give it a little bit of downfall, but this is my number 2. Drytop. For me, visually, one of the best designed maps in the game. This was the first map that we got as part of the Living Story after a long wait after Southern Cove, and boy, were we given something amazing. This map was actually introduced to us in several stages, but for me, just the verticality of this really gave us an idea of what ArenaNet were doing and what they were developing. But it's just the textures and the scenic view of these sort of cracked, you know, the sort of messer around here, the walls. It's just really beautiful. And, you know, you'll see this in the area I'm about to go into when you get this sort of valley, and you can see just what an outstanding job the designers of Guild Wars 2 actually did on this map. And this is what you can see here. Just, it looks unbelievable. So much more detail, so much more development's gone into this than on a lot of the other maps. You know, I've said that a few of the other maps look visually stunning, but when you compare it to Drytop, it really doesn't. And Drytop was revealed to us bit by bit, and so we got each little snippet of the map, and each bit gave us something more and more outstanding. And this is a smaller map compared to a lot of the other maps out there in Guild Wars 2, but here we go, we come into this oasis area, and this gives you some of the most visually stunning images in all of Guild Wars 2. I mean, just look here, you've got this, you know, sort of the Maguma jungle area, the light, you know, the light rays shining through the haze you get, it's just, and the flares as well from the sunlight. That is just a visually stunning piece of game design. But enough about me waxing lyrical about their design. They also have another area of the map which gives you another brilliant piece of design. And that's where I think, you know, Drytop overrates and, you know, sort of overshadows a lot of the other maps. Pretty much all of the map of this is really well designed. It's beautiful. There isn't really too many areas that let down Drytop. If you compare it to the Silver Waste is more vertical, you know, especially with the jumping puzzle, you go all over the place. But the Silver Waste is pretty standard in the fact that it is a pretty square map. You've got sort of 4 forts, you know, 2 on the left-hand side, 1 in the middle, 1 on the right, and then obviously the main packed area, staging area. And it just feels a bit just barren. Drytop has lots of aspects to it. There's lots of different ways. It's very, you know, sort of like a maze to get around this map. And that's one of the things I like about Drytop. It is a very unique map to Guild Wars 2. But here for me is again another thing of pure beauty and genius. And that is this ley line sort of area that you get to see. And that is just sort of beautiful. So well designed. It really does give you an epic feel for Drytop. But that's it. We're not done there. Not even this area in the underground caverns. That's not even why I think Drytop is one of the most beautiful maps in Guild Wars 2. It's another thing to do with the map mechanic. Now what you'll notice is that there is a countdown going in the top right. We have 10 more seconds until a sandstorm comes. And that changes the map completely. Brings you new events, Again, events that are challenging. So you've got challenging content in Dry Top. And just watch the map. That visually stunning sandstorm sweep in. That is beautiful. And for me, this came very close to my number one. And there are a few aspects that really I would have put number one. However, you'll soon see why I decided to keep this as my number two. My number one is Timberline Falls. Visually, I think, you know, compared to Dry Top now, the actual textures are probably not as, you know, in as much detail, but visually and just the scope of the map really does make this the number one. It's not the most challenging content, but the fact it blends that, you know, sort of going into the lower lands from the Shiver Peaks. You've got the snow-topped peaks with the, you know, grassy sort of lowlands. It is a beautiful area, and it's no coincidence that a lot of the screenshots from one of my competitions tended to be from Timberline Falls. It gives you some of the best landscape views in the game. And, you know, Dry Top did give you some views, but they don't have this stunning snowdrop with, you know, grass. You've got the snow topped mountains, you've got a lake over here as well, and it's just, there's so much going on and so much detail in this. I mean, look at that over there. You've got the waterfall going on, you've got the forest trees. There's just so many different aspects to Timberline Falls that make it, for me, the nicest map to play in. It's visually, it's the nicest map. I enjoy going through this map. I will admit that, you know, again, it's not the most challenging. You know, you've got Fort Concordia, which obviously takes place to do with the story, but, you know, you've got things underground like the Scrit and the Dredge. They're not challenging. You know, you do get a bit of destroy content and some challenging events, but that's not what this map's about. This map, for me, in my opinion, is number one, primarily because of the stunning visuals that you get in this game. Feel free to leave any comments. If you've got any suggestions for your top ones, please let me know. If you feel free that I've made any mistakes, feel free to comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.